A Swift Kick in the Ass, episode 107. Me, Myself, and Change.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curran and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take...
Life is challenging and difficult. No one gets out alive. Time to suck it up, Buttercup. Get ready for a monster-sized boot, aimed to help you get traction on personal change and get living. I am John Curran, your host. Join me as I share my journey, exploring the forces that motivate us to change and help us get through whatever life throws at us. A swift kick in the ass. Life on your terms. Welcome to another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass. This is your host, John Curran. Today's episode, Me, Myself, and Change. You know, change occurs so often very slowly, and so slowly it doesn't seem like things are changing at all when everything is changing continuously. In fact, life is changing so quickly that our brains have no choice but to filter out most of it. We're just not capable of absorbing, everything that's going on, and it makes sense. So we get into a pattern of not looking or searching for what has changed. We aren't even tracking change. I've talked on this show, or I spoke on this show before, many times about measurable goals and the importance of them. This is one of the reasons why we have goals that are measurable, so that we know what we're doing and where we're heading and where we've been and hopefully where we're going to. Living life on your terms is about understanding the terms of your life, and what better way to understand the terms but to put them in measurable, meaningful ways. You'll understand what you're up against and understand where you want to go. Most people are unaware of where they stand, where they're going. They just settle for life as it is. You know different. I know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. Recently, I was looking at some of our sources of the clearinghouses for this podcast, and it's very difficult to really get feedback on the content that you're putting out there. So I look for that, and most places that provide podcasts to people, most places where people get their podcasts, they don't say how many subscribers or followers a show has. I really don't know how many people listen to me when I put an episode out. No podcast really does. But as I was looking at Castbox, I saw that they do list subscribers for podcasts. This podcast has over 5,000. That is excellent. That made me so happy. As I said, it's hard to get feedback, and seeing that makes me realize that I need to do better. I need to continue to push myself to change. And this show has been such a big part of that, a big part of my life for the last 7 years. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to continue it and share my journey with you. This is life should be all about learning, how we can do better, how we can be better. It doesn't have to be all that complicated. I think we should be compassionate with ourselves as well as others as we go through this process of growing and evolving. Because, we don't all learn at the same pace. We don't all view life in the same way. We don't want all of the same things out of life. But we're all in this together. And it all ends up the same for each and every one of us. That kick in the ass, the final kick in the ass, is coming for each and every one of us. In our own way, it's going to happen someday. Until then, life is going to be difficult. Life is going to be challenging. Doesn't mean that we can't push back and kick back and make it more difficult on life. Get some challenge in it and get more of the things that you want out of life. This is what I mean about controlling the terms of your life. It's not easy to change. And not all of the terms or conditions of our lives are changeable. Sometimes I think we spend a lot of energy trying to change something that we really just need to accept. So at times we need to just surrender, stop the fight, put down our weapons, and embrace the suck. That's just the way it is. Because, I think a lot about my dad. My dad helped, the death of my father really helped prompt the creation of the show. And my dad was king at making life more difficult than it needs to be. I can remember working for my dad. He worked my ass off. It was always tough. It was extremely tough working for my father. He had me doing everything, knocking down brick walls or cinder block walls with a sledgehammer. I remember I worked so hard for him. I think I was about 15. I remember I could use the van. He had this old work van with these vinyl leather seats, and I was knocking down the cinder wall, and it was hot. It was summertime, and I got jock itch. And if you don't know what that is, it's a rash around your groin. It's painful. And in fact, I'll tell you, this is how terrible it is. They had this product back in the day called Absorbine Junior. It's basically alcohol. So imagine something so irritating that you're willing to put alcohol on your genitals and it feels good. Holy crap, man. And it kills the bacteria, but it's painful. And, I think about that experience and working for my dad. It seemed like, life doesn't have to be that difficult. You don't have to work yourself to a point to where you're getting jock itch and rash and you're creating pain in your life. You can use, I'm at an age now to where I better understand how we need to control our exposure to the world. I have hand issues. This is a genetic condition called Dupuytren's contracture. And so I have to wear gloves a lot to protect my hands. And this is a tool or an aid that I use to really help myself evolve and help myself be better. I can use my hands as an excuse, and I have used my hands as an excuse for not doing this or not doing that. I didn't join karate because of my hands. I thought I would be hurting my hands. I wouldn't be able to hit or punch. It would be painful. But now that I'm doing karate, Taekwondo with my son. It's amazing that I'm learning that what I've been fighting and what I thought would hurt me is actually helping me. It's strengthening my hands. I think my hands are actually getting straighter because of this exercise and because of this difficulty and challenge that I'm putting them through. It's not as painful. It's not really as painful as I thought. So I think I can appreciate challenging yourself. I can appreciate that difficulty is part of this challenge. Doesn't need to be overly difficult. We don't need to make it more difficult than it needs to be. So as you go through this process of change, and as I go through this process of myself, ask yourself why? Why are you changing? Why is this so difficult? And what do you need? And why do you need it? And maybe it's not so, if you're trying to support yourself, trying to encourage yourself, maybe it's not so important asking yourself why you need something. Maybe it's just important that you get it. And maybe you get it and you find out you don't really need it at all. You've still learned something about yourself in the process. It all depends on how well you know yourself and how well you're able to dig deep into your own self, into your own being. But the better that you truly know yourself, the easier all this change becomes. And sometimes just acknowledging the pain that you're going through, acknowledging the sucky part of your life, sometimes that's all you need to get that emotion to kind of subside, to pass, to flow through you. And you recognize that, you know what, this too shall pass, because all things pass. Life really is the here, the now. That's what it is. The past is gone. It's a memory. The future isn't here yet. Maybe it won't come at all. Who knows? But all of this is in your head at the moment. Because that's all we have is the moment. And it's here, and then it's gone. It becomes a part of the past. So what you do in this moment is extremely important. How you look at the here now is your view of the world, your perspective. It's a frame. Think of it. It's a picture that you've created for yourself. It's your understanding of reality at this time. Your understanding of reality, your emotions, your situation, it's all going to change. Change is a part of our life. We need to accept that, embrace it, and learn how to live with it so that we get more of what we want out of life. If you want to change, you can change right now. Fill your now with minutes of meaning. If you want to do something, start doing it. This time, even if you spend 1 minute doing what you want to be doing, say maybe it's playing guitar, learning guitar, spend 5 minutes a day doing it. The time will add up, and before you know it, you'll actually be spending more than 5 minutes doing what you want to do because you'll be enjoying it so much. The time will fly by. And over a period of time, as you look back, actually, if you track how much time you spend, then it makes an even more convincing argument because you'll see your progress and you'll recognize the progress that you made because if you're tracking it. You'll see a snowball effect that you start off with just a few minutes, and that snowball will start growing to where you're spending more and more time doing it. You're not even aware of it going, of this happening most of the time, I think. So if you want to create change in your life, prioritize it. Make it important. Make the time. It's up to you. Have a plan. And I suggest have a path that you think that you want to follow. And then pursue it. See what comes up. Experience the path. See where that path heads. And recognize that personal change often involves others. This podcast, I would not have started it without Tommy. I wouldn't have started it without my dad, because my dad taught me all about living life on my terms. He lived it. And I do too. And to be able to share that with you is so awesome. I love it. I had teachers along the way. I had mentors. I had friends and family and people that love and care about me. They all play a part in where I am and who I am today. I have them to thank for that. Even the people that created grief in my life and that are no longer in my life because I pushed them out. That friendship needed to end. Or that relationship needed to end. I thank them because I learned from that mistake, and they certainly played a part in who I am today. That does not mean I want them back in my life, but it means that I respect that relationship. So along with people, we also have tools in our lives. So in my case, in particular, I use gloves a lot. I use my computer a lot, my smartphone. These are all tools that we use. We use our cars every day. Our cars are a tool to take us from point A to point B, to get us where we want to go. It doesn't even register that these things are tools that we use in our life to better ourselves. As I've mentioned before, gloves are an important aspect of my life. I use different types of gloves based on the purpose. I use them when I go to the gym and I'm lifting weights, I'm exercising. I use them when I'm hiking. Can you believe that? I'm hiking and I'm using gloves. And that's because I like to do these rock scrambles, which is really almost a full body exercise, so where you're kind of pulling yourself up over rocks and things. It's nothing dangerous. I'm not using ropes or anything. I'm not doing anything crazy like that. But I want to protect my hands. It's important to me. And the gloves enable me to do more. I go on my electric go-karts with my son. I wear driving gloves. It helps me grip the wheel better, helps protect my hands. I'm not Michael Jackson. I'm wearing them on both hands. They're not sequined. They're protective. They have a reason. It's not just for show. Because I'm willing to do this, because I recognize this weakness within my own body that I need to address, I think it helps me succeed. Because I'm strong enough to be weak. Think about that. In your own life, is there something that you're just been clinging on to so strongly that really the best case scenario for you is just to let go? To let it go? It's up to you. But think about that. The time's coming to an end to kind of wrap up this podcast, this episode. But remember that change comes incrementally. It slowly builds over time. and is based on how we spend our time. So the more that we spend time on our terms that we control, that we do voluntarily, that we enjoy, that we get something out of, the more before you know it, the next thing you know, that change that you wanted, it's in the past and you're living it. Because all things must pass. And so must each episode of this show. So I'm going to end it here. This is your host, John Curran. Until the next time, keep kicking ass. And trust the nature of change. Peace. This marks the end of another episode of A Swift Kick in the Ass, placing it directly in the can. As much as I like to talk, even I have my limits. It's time to go. Catch me on the next show. For better or worse, whether you like us or not, please leave comments wherever you get your podcasts. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Visit our home on the interweb. I think you can leave me a voicemail there. You can also email me at john@aswiftkickintheass.com. It's been my extreme pleasure. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you got your ass moving. Until then, until the next time, I'm out of here. Peace.